For the third year and counting, Richard Skipper has been celebrating the artists you love. Richard Skipper is all about celebrating life, art, and his guest body of work. Please join us while he showcases these diverse and talented individuals. Here's Richard Skipper.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? As you know, I believe that every day is to be celebrated when and if we take the time to do so. Notice I said when. I believe it's very important that we do so. I want to take a moment to talk about three very important people in my life. They are Susan L. Schulman, who was a very well-known publicist in the Broadway community, Jay Rogers, who was my director, and Edith Eisenberg, who was the mother of Jana Robbins. I mention all three because they all passed away this past week. Three losses in my life. Edith was 100 years old, so I celebrate the longevity of her life. Jay Rogers, gone all too soon. And Susan Schulman, I think of these losses. I like to think of them as I learned in a wonderful poem. I think of all of them as being in the next room, and they will all live in my hearts. But there's a special word today that I want to celebrate with each and every one of you. I celebrate each person who is here to watch the show today. And the word of the day is gratitude. And I, as all of you who watch this show know, I practice gratitude on a daily basis. And I am so grateful for today's guest, SHANDA Tripp. You inspire me on so many levels. So number one, I'm grateful for the fact that you were on today's show. I am grateful for Roger Neal, who brought us together.
Amen. Yes.
I am grateful for the work that you do for children. So thank you for that. And we're going to delve into all of this. I'm grateful for the fact that you have an amazing new book out. And I'm grateful for the fact that you are being generous today and giving away a copy of the book. Yes. All of our guests, all of our audience today, all you need to do is comment with the hashtag gratitude.
Yay.
And you may win this book at the end of the show. I want to ask you, because we're going to talk about some very special women in your life, because they are all part of this book.
Yes,
but I want to ask you about gratitude. And I'm sure that I already know the answer before I even ask. Do you practice daily gratitude in your life?
Richard, let me say, number one, thank you for having me on the show. And you're just such a pleasure. I can just tell you're just, suave. You're just in the moment, enjoying life. And so that's a blessing already to me. So thank you for having me on. But gratitude is something that has helped me get through the last year. If I was not grateful, you can either think about how rough your life is or bad your life is or whatever, because everybody goes through something, right? But if you will stop, pause, and choose to be thankful, to have gratitude in your heart, you can literally change. You can go from tears to laughter, or maybe tears of sorrow to tears of joy and gratitude. So yeah, gratitude is a key to survival. Honestly, it really is.
Do you want to go there now, or do you want
to you just asked me a question.
Do you want to go there later? Because first of all, I mentioned at the beginning of my show, I lost three close friends this week. And I want to talk about Rob, your wonderful husband, Pastor Rob. Yes. In a parking lot, he steps on a screw, and I heard you say that when you saw the blood, you almost passed out yourself. Yeah. But he calmly called you over to be by his side, and that one moment literally changed everything. Changed your whole world. Do you want to take over from that? You can tell everyone what happened.
Well, it was last February of 2021, so we're not that far away. My wonderful husband of 21 years stepped on a screw in just a parking lot of the box store. He had just ran down to the store, you know how you do on a Saturday. And by the time he got back, I was at the church. We were meeting at the church. By the time he got back to the church, his shoe had filled with blood. So he called the doctor, and yeah, you heard me tell that version of the story, like the long version, because when he so calmly called me over, honestly, I was in a hurry. I was doing something like I always am. I'm like, what? And so much blood. I grabbed the desk I stayed in front of like I was going to pass out because I'm not good with blood. So I thought he'd like cut his leg off or something. There was so much blood, but he had just punctured it. So he called his doctor. The doctor said, if it'll quit bleeding, come see me on Monday. If it won't quit bleeding, go to the emergency room. Well, maybe 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I'm a drama queen, right? It stopped bleeding. It had just kind of made a mess because he had ridden in the car for about 15 minutes and it had bled. So by Monday, there wasn't even a mark on the bottom of his foot. I mean, it was nothing. And he shows me his foot and says, look at that. He said, this was on Monday. He said, I don't think I'll even call the doctor. Do you think I should? I said, looks fine to me, And that was it. That was middle of February. And then in May, he had emergency surgery. And then where he had infection, gangrene had set up in his foot. And they went in there and scraped out. I didn't know you could got my hand here. They can take out the entire part of your foot and leave everything else intact. It was amazing.
Let me ask you, leading up to that, were there signs or things that there were issues that you needed to concern yourself with, or did this happen suddenly?
Well, my husband was a diabetic, but he managed it, honestly, he didn't tell me his numbers every day. I'm not his mother, you know what I mean? But he lived a very full life. He was a studio musician, a drummer.
That's how you guys met, yes.
A Grammy award-winning producer. And so he was working all the time. And no, looking back, which they say hindsight's 20/20, and I can testify to that, I see in April, just looking at old videos of him, where he just seemed not as outgoing and funny and loud or whatever, because he was always the life of the party. Any room he's in, you got yourself a comedian and Mr. Party. So, but really that was it. And even in May, when he went to the hospital and had emergency surgery, it was such a shock because he was fully functioning. He's going here and there, and he just got a fever. And he was like, it was a Wednesday, and he's like, I don't think I can make it tonight. I just don't feel good. So we go to the doctor, and his foot had infection in it. And he had no idea. He noticed it was sore. And of course he hadn't told me that, but, it was really a total shock to him and me. And then until May, I sincerely had no idea, none. From May, that was the end of May, he went to the doctor every single Monday, like clockwork. He did everything the doctor said. His blood sugar, I can tell you what it was. His A1C was perfect, so there are no issues there. And he went into cardiac arrest November the 9th. And I would later find out, because he had every heart test. They were telling me how great his heart is, no blockages, all this thing goes into cardiac arrest. Because infection in your body wears down your major organs, which is your brain, heart, kidneys, and liver, right? And it had worn his heart down, and we would then be in the hospital for 30 days. We went home for less than 24 hours, and that was it. He went home to be with the Lord on December the 9th. I was 48 years old. Our oldest daughter was 20, and our son was 16. So to say, my husband was 56. So to say that was a shock, it's still a shock. It hadn't even been a year yet.
Of course, it hasn't even been a year yet.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've got your faith that gets you through this.
Yes.
But what advice do you give everyone who's watching right now on getting through this, obviously one day at a time? Yes. What do you say to everyone watching right now?
Well, I'll tell you my story real quick, is that I didn't believe in God the day he died. I had been serving God, knowing God, had a relationship with God probably my whole life. But
What do you mean probably your whole life?
Yeah, well,
your whole life.
I make a joke, and some people, so I think maybe I've offended people before. I'm just kidding, but I tell people I was born saved because my parents were missionaries, and I didn't have a choice.
Which you're gonna go to, yes.
But we all have a choice, but that's just a little joke I make. I was raised in the mission field. So all I've ever known is serving the Lord and doing for helping people. My parents helped people. So that's all I've ever known. But my advice to you today would be is if you're having there's my parents. Yes,
your parents.
That's actually before I was even born, because they were missionaries since 1960, like 64, I think it was. And I was born in 73.
Oh, so you're a baby.
I was a baby. I was born in the family business. But if you're having a good day today, if things are going well, there I am. That is at the airport. I'm
so glad that I found this photograph.
Yes, that's the one I wanted to send you. Yes.
Wow.
So that's me in Haiti. Yes, that's the one I wanted to send you. So if you're having a good day today, go ahead and have community. Do something good for somebody. Be, a secular term would be in a good headspace, because this is preparation, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And here you've lost 3 friends this week. You don't know what you're going to face.
It's funny because a lot of people that are watching right now that I'm seeing in the comments section are people who follow the show. Excuse me for going here religiously.
Yes.
So they watch the show regularly.
Yes.
And there's a closing comments that I say daily, and you're saying all of that right now. So I appreciate that you're saying this.
Well, it's just so true.
It is so true.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about this. I grew up, it's very funny. When I grew up in South Carolina, I'm a Southern boy myself.
Okay. That's where my husband's from.
So I'm sorry?
That's where my husband is from, South Carolina, Greenville area. Yeah.
Where?
Greenville, South Carolina.
That's on the other side of the state. I grew up just outside of Myrtle Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I grew up living right next door to a church, and now directly across the street from where I live, across the road, is a church. I'm doing a Christmas concert there on December 10th for anyone who's watching. And there's another church just a few doors down. So I have been surrounded by churches my whole life.
Your whole life.
You literally came out of the womb and right into that world.
That's right. Yes.
And forgive me for where I'm about to go with this, Shanda. But I also, very close friends, the children of the pastor, there is a lot of pressure on you when your parents.
Oh yeah, because everybody expects you to be perfect, right?
Yeah, yes. Did you feel that pressure growing up with your parents being missionaries and being in that world?
Sincerely, my life's a little bit different because we were on the mission field. We were in Mexico and Haiti. We had a home in both. I went to school in America, but it was correspondence, so I would go to school when we were in America. And pastoring is completely different in that you are with the same people every week. They know what you do. They've seen where you were on Friday night. Now you had social media and all that. Right. But pastoring does put you, as far as preachers' kids, at least, under a microscope a whole lot more, I think, than being a missionary. And I was raised as a missionary. So, you go around. The hardest part about that is you get attached to people and then you don't see them again for a year or maybe ever. But because we were forever, it's called itinerating, where my parents were going around trying to raise the funds in the church to do what they were doing. So 50 years they were on the mission field.
But you kept on that same path.
I kept on that same path. Say that again.
What was it that kept you on that path?
When I was real young, I had one desire, and that was to not do what they did, because I wanted to not travel anymore and do all that. But I think I share my parents' heart, and especially my dad. My dad had he would do anything to feed one more child. That was his goal, to feed one more child. He would go to such lengths. And for whatever reason, I understood it. And my mom was very full of tenacity. Like, whatever dad said do, fine, we'll try it. The first time they took me to Haiti, I was 3 months old. And I'm like, my mom had to be crazy to take me to Haiti at 3 months old. And then fast forward, going through everything that I've went through, even in the last year, I reflect a lot on that. I'm like, well, if they could do what they did, leaving everything that they had, because it was kind of later, they already kind of had their career and then decided to be missionaries. So if they could have the tenacity to do what they did. And what my parents did is, once they knew what they were doing, thus missionary, thus feeding children, they never wavered. They stuck to it. And in today's world, I see a lot of people, when it gets hard, they change, they quit. So even, again, not that I'm trying to make it all about me, but in this last year, I have reflected and gained much strength from that, knowing that if I was doing the right thing last year, then I'm going to keep doing the same right thing this year. And if you believe that God has a purpose and a plan for your life, He is not bipolar. He does not want you to be, a painter on Tuesday, and He wants you to be a professional bowler on Friday. You have a set of gifts. And not that things don't evolve and change, but people, it just gets hard, and they get out of gratitude for what they've been given, what they have, and they try to switch gears completely. And the truth is, people want to think the grass is greener on the other side. Well, you got to mow and maintain that grass as well. And that's what you just have to realize, that anything you do is going to get difficult. And that's what I've just told myself in this last year, which has given me a tenacity to stick with it.
Well, I want to ask, with your parents traveling as much as they did they ever have real roots in one particular area?
Well, they both were from Springfield, Missouri. They met in Bible school. Both my grandpas. It's an organization called the Assemblies of God. If you really want to know the real story.
No, of course I do, yes.
They had been Assemblies of God, and I'm not knocking the Assemblies of God. My parents had pastored 5 different churches in the Assemblies, but then they felt like they were called to the mission field, and said organization didn't want them to do it, didn't want them to go. And so they left everything, left the organization, and that was a giant taboo to do that. And both of my grandpas turned their backs on them because they thought they had lost their mind. And so, but they felt like they knew what they were supposed to do, and they did it, and they stuck with it. That's largely what I refer to. But now I think all of that was literally for me, for the next generation, because everything, if they would have went to the mission field under the guise of any organization, everything that they would have done would have been that organization. So they went out on their own and did a whole brand new work, which is very difficult, very difficult. So now the amazing things that we get to do and that we get to continue to do, you're looking at 60 years of missionary work. It's not just an overnight thing. We've got the longevity, and I have orphanages in Haiti today that are debt-free. We have beds. We have every staff. Everything's paid for. All we need is the money for the overhead because of my parents. Everything they did was debt-free, right? So, and that's the way it should be, generational. And I'm honored to get to carry on. I am.
It's interesting as I get older, especially. I mean, there are times when I will be looking in the mirror and I will see my father looking right
Isn't
back
that crazy?
at me.
Yeah. And
I want to ask, with you and your mom, are there moments when you go, that's my mom, in terms of the work that you do?
Well, absolutely, with the tenacity and the backbone. I mean, once my mom was, my dad would say tough old gal. I don't know if that's a good thing to say these days, but yeah, just the staying power, the sticking with it, the plowing through, not giving up. I think I see a generation, and I'm really not that far away from them. I'm 49 years old right now, but a lot of people just pick up, anchor, and change, move cross country, just looking for happiness or looking for, and if you'll just lock in to what you feel like you're supposed to do, what brings you joy, but nothing's going to be easy. Nothing's going to be easy, but I think eventually you'll get there.
So as you were going into your teenage years and you were getting older, I know that you're also a singer and you're in the music world. Did you have a certain path that you were desiring to be on? Or did you always feel that you were going to be in the world of religion? Or did you feel that you were going to be working with children, because the work that you do is very important there? Did you have specific career path that you were looking towards when you were in your teen years, as you were looking towards graduating from high school?
Honestly, not outside of the missionary work. And music was always there, but I've always known people who wanted to be a star, and you're kind of like to yourself, you ain't gonna be, you know what I mean? Like, it ain't gonna happen. And for whatever reason, yes, I do sing when needed upon, but not like I'm going out trying to be a singer, and absolutely nothing wrong with that. But when I was 16 years old, my parents had a anniversary party, and I got up and I told the crowd, I told them, my dad would always quote this story, that I knew I'd be the one to carry on their work. That was at 16. And I think that call or that knowing kept me out of a lot of mess that a lot of other people, they got to go try this for 2 years, this for 5 years, whatever, or drugs, alcohol, wrong marriages, children that they didn't plan on having, whatever, but a purpose will keep you out of a lot of mess. And that's why it's good to know a purpose early in life. So I knew it. And then I moved to Nashville. Honestly, I just kind of fell into it. I won't drag you through that. And then once I got here, I started working for a record company, and that's how I met my husband. We'd hire him to play drums. So I certainly love music, around music, I still am. I mean, I have a studio right now. My husband, we've had a studio for years. So now I have a studio. So I'm still in the music business. I'm just a little bit more into it now than I was a year ago, but I'm trying to carry on and use what I've got. So really, it hasn't wavered. So fast forwarding just a little bit to orphans. Foster care children are orphans in America. We just don't call them orphans. They're called foster care children. So I see how I didn't plan it, but that tug I felt years ago for foster children was really, it took me a while to figure that out. Like, oh yeah, that's still just orphans that I'm led to feel drawn to help. So it's all still kind of in the same lane. And I wanted to do what my parents did, but I didn't want to do it how they did it. And there is some scripture in Genesis, Abraham and Sarah, God told them, I'm going to bring you out from the land that you're in into a place that you don't know. And I remember reading that passage of scripture, and I remember thinking, I think I'm going to do something like my parents, but it's going to be totally different than my parents. So I'm open to doing just about anything, but my parents spent all their time going from church to church to church, where through Love for Music City, it is a non-religious, now I hope my mom don't roll over in her grave on that one, but a non-religious 501c3, which has opened doors for us to work.
Well, let's go there for a moment,
okay.
Because because the book still hasn't arrived. Although Roger sent me the digital version, and
yes, I actually got it on Saturday. In your copy,
it just arrived on Saturdays. I cannot wait to read this book. And Saturday is National Book Lovers Day, so
I didn't know that. This coming Saturday.
Books. This coming Saturday. So everybody who loves books, order this book. But I want to go there for a moment, because you reached out because of the work that you were doing. And if I get this wrong, please forgive me. But you reached out some time ago to get some funding, and you were unable to get the funding because of separation of church and state. Am I correct on this?
We try to help foster children through the church. I wasn't asking for funding. I was just going to help foster kids at Christmas time, to be honest. And they pleasantly said, no, thank you, because of the separation of church and state. And I was relieved. I was like, oh, well, hallelujah. I don't have to do that. Kind of like I got my good person badge kind of thing. Right. But I had watched a news story on like ABC, NBC, so just a network news story about foster children taking their items from house to house in trash bags. And that just got me, as it should every American. Mm-hmm. Shouldn't happen in America. So someone from our church it wasn't me personally, but they went down there and asked if we could do something. And they said no, in a very nice way. And that was that. So that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
What is it in this country when people want to help these kids that there's so much red tape involved?
Well, partially I understand it, because foster care children are federally protected because you cannot put their faces on social media. When they go to school, it's a bullying peer pressure thing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want anyone to know that they're a foster child, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, which those of us who work in foster care, it makes it very hard to raise money because you can't show really what you're doing. It's like a co-op operation. So it's very difficult because you're trying desperately. Everyone, even though we don't know each other, but we're working on the same team to protect the value and dignity of the child because they've been through the worst trauma ever to even be in the system. So that's the red tape. And then, of course, there's lots of red tape with adopting. And I've actually even been invited and very, very honored to do so, to be invited to meetings to talk about said things with government officials. But even cutting the red tape isn't for adoption will help possibly, but it ain't going to solve it. It's too big of an issue with the older children, the elementary and the high school children.
So everyone who's watching right now, how can they get involved in the work that you're doing?
Well, loveformusiccity.org is our website, so anybody can go there. One of the main things that we do that anyone could sponsor is a love pack, and I don't have one. You might be able to find a picture to throw up at some point. It's larger than a backpack, but it's a large bag, so that replaces that trash bag that goes from house to house, and so they can put their items in that, but it comes with pajama bottoms, t-shirts, socks, personal hygiene items. So the night that they're put into the system, they can take a shower, put on clean clothes. They have socks. They can brush their teeth. You'd be shocked the amount of people that they can't even do that. They don't even have a toothbrush. They have no clothes. And even if they have personal items, many, many, many times they're not allowed to take anything that first night because it's a crime scene. There's some other kind of issue going on, and the DCS worker will go back the next day, the week after, whatever the case may be, to get their things. So just about every child, there's that in between trauma after the trauma, that 24, 48 hours, some longer. So we do that. And that's $50 is what we ask to sponsor the bag. There's no way you could buy the bag and everything in it for $50. But because of our other sponsors, people who give us socks, t-shirts, whatever, we're able to put it together and do that. We get calls from all across the state and otherwise for love packs because there's such a need. So that is something anyone can do. But I would encourage anyone listening, you have a DCS. Where if you live in America, you live in a county and there's a DCS there. You could call that DCS and they would certify you as a volunteer if you wanted to just help a foster kid with their homework. They're not going to let you take them anywhere, but there's usually foster children sitting in the DCS office in every county. In the county I live in, Middle Tennessee, there'll be children sleeping on the conference tables tonight. In Davison County, which is Nashville, there'll probably be 20 or 30 every night. Through COVID, the intake has went up of foster care children, and the amount of parents has went down. Foster care parents has went down. So we are in a crisis. By law, you can look this up for yourself, a social worker is only permitted to have 20 cases. Now, a case could be a sibling set of 2 or 3 children, 5 children, right? Only 20 cases. In Middle Tennessee right now, we have upwards of 80 cases per social worker. Now, I want you to think about that. How could you, Richard, I know you're the interviewer, but how could you look out for, oversee, know where they're at? Are they in school? Are they being injured? Are they being sexually molested? Are they getting the proper health care, dentistry work they're supposed to get? Going to mental health services that the government has paid for. Oh, by the way, it's all paid for. It's the government's putting the money into the programs. It's the human in the equation that is missing. So that one DCS worker cannot physically handle 80 cases.
No, of course not.
They can't.
Is there any particular area in the country that is worse? That is like number one on the list that needs the most work?
That is a great question. And I don't particularly know the answer off the top of my head. I don't want to quote what I think, because if I were wrong, it would be bad. But I will tell you, there's some stories from Middle Tennessee. and this will sound bad because you live in New York. I don't want to offend you. But when I heard the story, I thought, oh, that child's from New York. Or you're talking about somebody in LA, because everybody knows they're overpopulated. No, this is out in the hills of Tennessee. One child, we're going to be highlighting her at our gala, which is actually this Thursday, November the 3rd. We're going to be live streaming it this year. So I'd love for people to watch. You can tune in, go to Love for Music.
If you send me the information, I will get it. I will put it out to everybody.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. We have a young lady named Michaela. She's now aged out of the system. And I have verified her story. She was put in a detention center because there was no foster home for her, in a detention center. And I personally went and talked to people in the social care to make sure she was not lying. Because I'm thinking, oh, well, she had did a crime or something and she's not telling me. No. And Michaela is one of the few people who will give you this glorious story about her foster care experience when she finally went to a home. Oh, the foster parents were so nice. And we actually got to go to the bathroom anytime we wanted to. And we got, a glass of milk anytime we wanted it. When she was in the detention center, she had to earn shampoo. And she had never committed a crime. And I wanting to say she was 13 or 14. Unbelievable. Don't go to public school. They school them there because, just like a prison, but it's detention for underage. And because we don't have enough foster care homes, they stuck her in there. And she was about 2.5 hours away from where she lived. So they farmed her across the state and put her in a detention center. And her story alone has opened up doors with some of our senators because they don't even know this is happening. They don't even know. So my dad used to say,
my friend Natasha Lombardi is watching here, and she's going, as a social worker myself, this is insane. I think she's shocked to hear all of this.
I'm telling you, with my hand on a Bible. But my precious dad used to say, if you say somebody's got to do something, usually that somebody is you.
Yes.
Is you.
Yes.
So if it tugs your heart, you need to get involved.
Absolutely.
That's all I'm saying.
I want to mention, last night, I ran into a friend of mine in the city, and her son got married. There's a reason why I've got an anecdote to get to your story.
Hey, it's your show. You take
no, it's our show. It's our show today. It's our show. So I ran into this friend. He got married just before COVID. She does not like his wife at all. And he lives in West Virginia. He comes back a few times a month, spends time with her, his mom, but she doesn't want to have anything to do. And I said, get to like her. Get to find something in her that you like because she loves your son. That's something you two have in common.
That's right.
And I hope to God that they're going to have children and you're going to love those grandchildren, hopefully. Find something that you love in them. There's a reason why I say this, because when you met Rob and you fell in love and you went into that family, you went into a family of love. I want to talk about his mom.
Yes.
Because his mom became a very close friend of yours. I want to talk about the relationship with Rob's mom, the mother-in-law. They get short shrift a lot of time, but not in your case.
No.
What was it about that special bond that the two of you had?
Well, my mother-in-law, if anyone knew her who's watching, her name's Edith Tripp. If you knew her, you loved her. She was probably one of the most loving people, and my parents were amazing, but Edith just walked in a kind of love. If you said, I've seen her do it, if you said you liked her purse, and she was always glamour girl to the max. I've seen her empty her purse out and give it to somebody, take off her jewelry and give it to somebody, forever giving her clothes away. And I'm not talking about Goodwill stuff. I'm talking about the good stuff, if you know what I mean. Just to give her, just as she loved to cook and serve and just precious. And sincerely, my husband was a lot like her. And now that they're both gone, I see how much they were so much alike. And I really didn't even realize how much
was it a year before your husband that she went?
Oh, no. My husband died December the 8th, and 71 days later, my mother-in-law died. She died February 17th of this year. So we're
you lost both of them.
Both of them within 71 days, yes. My mother in love, she actually shares the story in the book. She was given 1 year to live 18 years ago. She was diagnosed with something called sarcoidosis, which is also what the comedian Bernie Mac died of at age, I think it was 53, 56, something like that. Yeah. So I'm just saying it was a real killer. And she was given a year to live 18 years ago. And she nursed herself. We believe God touched her, but it was a continual taking care of herself, pampering herself, if you want, tons of vitamins, all that kind of stuff she was into. But when her son went to be with the Lord, she didn't want to be here anymore. She
lost her will to live.
She just laid down and died. And because she had that illness that she had truly fought, she was such a fighter, strong person. I just think she quit fighting, and that was it. That was it.
Well, I went there because she's very much a part of your book.
Yes.
And now we want to talk about the book.
Yes.
So,
all right.
The book, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Who planted the seed for the book?
Well, honestly, I think it was my idea. I know the title was my idea, but we had talked for a long time. My daughter's a gifted writer, and my mother-in-law was like, I want to help Hannah. If my story will help give Hannah a platform, she wanted to do it. And who would dream? We had the book finished and to the publisher last October. My husband went in the hospital in November. And so it laid there, and I just didn't even know if I was even going to do anything. And then I decided, well, especially for my daughter's sake. And then I had to write the last chapter of the book, which was very difficult. It's an epilogue, catch everybody up what had happened. So I went ahead and did it, and now it's all the more so precious. And I went ahead and included how my mother-in-law went to be with the Lord and all those things that had happened there at the end. But she contributed 3 chapters, and my daughter contributed 2 chapters. And I think it's 10 or 11 chapters. I also put in the back some of my mother-in-law's recipes. She was known for her cooking. She had a cooking show for 25 years on the Trilogy Broadcasting Network. And I'm telling you, I don't know if you've ever eaten at Paula Deen's, but Paula Deen's restaurants is the only cooking. Well, you're a Southern boy. Okay.
Well, I have to tell you, in Savannah, but I tried some of Paula Deen's recipes, but I'm telling you, she actually has a bread pudding. Are you ready for this? Made with Krispy Kreme donuts.
Wow! Now that's over the top. Yeah, that's over the top.
But I love Paula Deen's cooking, and
but that Southern thing, that's just what my mother-in-law had. I mean, she could make anything, and for some reason, it's just good or better. But she would, maybe she's seen Paula Deen on TV cooking something, and she would make it and take it up a notch. She loved to cook. She's forever sending food home with people. So we included some recipes in the back of the book of hers. And then she had written she had written something sweet about every member of our family. And my husband.
Wow, what a gift.
I know. And again, this was done before my husband went in the hospital. And my husband told me to take that part out, that nobody wanted to read that. So I did. I'm going to listen to Rob. Well, then fast forward, they're both gone. So we put it back in.
I'm glad you did. I am so glad you put that
amazing. How amazing. So,
because that's a gift to everybody. But I want to add, because I heard an interview. I went and listened to a few of your interviews. And in one of the interviews, you said that your daughter, you essentially gave her free rein to write what she wanted to. And that some of the things were painful for you to even read, because as a mother, there were things that you weren't even aware that were going on in her life that you did not know until you actually saw the transcripts of what had happened.
That's right.
What was that experience like for you to sit down and see on paper these experiences that your daughter was going through? And of course, spoiler, everybody has to get the book to find out what we're talking about.
Well, I think, and maybe that's why, because I didn't realize you had done that much homework, but my daughter has been raised in a pastor's home, which is totally different than missionary. And my daughter had suffered, and I'm going to say, taken it a lot more to heart than I had realized. And Rob or I, because she had written it, but Rob was still here, of course. But preachers' kids are expected to be perfect. And I like to say, as pastors, we are expected to be like the EMT, the 911, the police, the fire department. We're the emergency service a lot of times, but you ain't paying your taxes to us. So you expect the minister and their family to be here on guard, standing, waiting for you. And yes, we are, I pray we're loving. Pastors are all supposed to be loving, but we're people too. And people who are not a part of the church, or maybe you were a part of the church for 3, 4, 5, 10 years and then leave. We loved you like family, and now you're not here. And my husband and I had suffered that many times, but you tried to take it with stiff upper lip. And I did not realize how much it had wounded my daughter, because you love people so dearly and you're with them 2 and 3 times a week, and then they're just gone. And then a lot of times they're bitter over whatever, and they talk about you, treat you a certain way. And she shares some stories that's just,
She's not here to talk, so I don't want to put her on the spot, but growing up, did she ever express any of these things that were bothering her? Or
not to the degree that they did, no. I mean, that we sincerely did not realize how deeply they were affecting her, because again, I think she developed the same thing we had, of just that stiff upper lip, and you take it and you keep going, and you keep loving, and you keep just try to be nice to everybody. And then people talk about you, run you down, do XYZ, and then want to come back in 2 years, or they call you when their son's been in a car wreck and they want you to be there, Johnny on the spot. Well, we will be, but we are people too. We strive to be like Jesus, but we are not. We are not.
Something, and it's not just, I mean, especially if you are pastors or if you're religious, but in our culture, there's, and I don't know why, but we hold people up to such a standard that are in the public eye.
Yes.
And if you are a pastor's family, you are definitely in the public eye, and especially in your field, because you're on television, people see you.
Right.
You make the slightest mistake, and people want to condemn you. They want to throw stones at you.
Right.
It is a very difficult thing to go through. When did you have outside sources in terms of the process of this book, or were you given carte blanche to create the book that you wanted to create?
As far as is that a publishing question kind of thing?
No, I'm asking if you were given basically the right to do anything that you wanted to do with the book. Did you have a vision of what you wanted the book to be?
Well, the vision in the beginning was because my mother-in-law had some amazing stories. My mother-in-law had been asked to write a book many times and always turned it down. And my mother-in-law had some amazing stories. I we'll see if anyone actually buys the book. But I think some of my stories, I was in a tornado back in 2006, underneath buried underneath a house, me and my daughter, unbelievable. And so I thought, well, people ask about it all the time. So, and I really want to see people helped. I do. And I want to see, I share it in the book, but people a lot of times will have a problem. They come to us, they're hurting enough to get honest. And then things get a little bit better, and maybe a few weeks go by, and then they want you to act like you didn't tell them how things really are. You are supposed to go into their fantasy land with them. And my father-in-law, LaVerne Tripp, had been a drug addict and alcoholic for many years. So when I married into the Tripp family, my parents never touched drugs and alcohol as far as I know. It was completely a whole new world, the whole AA world and all that.
It was a trip.
It was a trip, yes. But you got to get honest. You got to get honest. If you need help, you got to get honest. And here's the key. You got to stay honest. You can't be an alcoholic on Monday and act like you've never drank a drink on Wednesday. It's a journey to get free and to stay free from all of that stuff. So, and it may not be drugs or alcohol. It could be all kinds of stuff. We all have something that we can work on. So this book kind of goes into the deception that we do to ourselves. And if you will get honest, if you will have a goal where you want to go, so many people are just like, don't know what I'm going to do today, where I'm going to go, where I'm going to end up in life. You got to have a goal. You got to have a decision. You got to have, if we're playing darts, we'd have to have a bullseye that we're throwing the darts at, or no one's the winner. So people don't have a goal in life oftentimes. So we actually have some practical steps, but we use some of our life stories, and we have practical steps trying to help everybody, but probably, let's just face the fact, probably more women than men, but I hope it'll help everybody. I would love to see some men read this book and actually give me some feedback on it. But
I'll give you some feedback.
It was our desire to help people. And we actually wrote it down. So if you forget, you can go back and read it.
Well, I want to ask you, I mean, the whole world in the last couple of years stopped with COVID and everything.
Yes.
And I know what that feeling is like for all of us. But in the midst of all that, two major setbacks in your life.
More than a setback, yeah.
How far into the book were you when everything started happening, as far as your husband's health and also with your mother-in-law?
It was almost completely, it was finished. I had already submitted it to the publisher before my husband went into the hospital. Mm-hmm. So it was finished. But then I had to go back and I changed up a few things and I had to write the epilogue, which was the update, what had happened. And I got to tell you the title.
For interrupting, but when this was happening, was the publisher generous as far as your time was concerned because of what you were going through? Or was there were they requesting that you go in and put a button on everything, an epilogue?
They were the one who suggested the epilogue, yes, because I would have never written that epilogue if I didn't have to, because it was very difficult to tell that. That was the hardest part, and that's what took the longest to write that. And once I put that period on the end of that paragraph, that chapter, that's it. That's the end of the story. And here it had just happened, and to bring myself to write the end of it was almost more than I could bear because it just seemed so final, so final. And the title of the book being, I was just going to say a minute ago, She Was Healed. It was like that. It was laying there at the publisher and it was beating me over the head because it was almost like a joke. Like, oh, really? She was healed? That's the name of your book? And all of this has happened. And now
you're always the title? Was that always the title?
Yeah. Oh, yes. That was always the title. It's taken from the Bible, Luke chapter 8, the woman with the issue of blood. She said to herself, if I can but touch the hem of his garment, I know I will be made whole, which speaks to your inner voice, your confidence, low self-esteem, all of those things. I know I will be made whole. What do you know? And if she touched the hem of his garment, so she had a goal, a desired goal, I know I'll be made whole. Most people don't even know what being made whole would be for them. So there's many things that we took out of that. And that was the point from day one. And then I go through all of this and I literally had to go back and read it. Like, do I still believe all of this? Is all of this still true? Do I stand by all of this? But I can tell you that I do. And that's why I'm sitting here today. I'm able to at least get through it without crying. I mean, we're not done yet, so no promises. But
I might join you. So
it's a sad.
I've had to pull back a couple of times already today. You said earlier, and that for a brief moment, and it's okay, but you said you lost faith. How did you find your faith again?
I can't say as though I ever found faith. I lost it. I had to question it because I had believed. My husband laid up in the hospital for 30 days and he absolutely had miracles. His brain scans improved. They told me he would never breathe again. He was breathing on his own. He was definitely improving to the point that we brought him home. And he didn't even, I think he lived 20 hours at home. And I had a nurse the whole time. I'm like, I'm not your nurse. We can tell you that. But it was literally like he stopped by the house and knew everything was okay and left. That's really what it was like. So it was like, what about my faith? I mean, I felt like for a minute, I felt like an idiot. Like here I've stood and believed that he's going to be fine. And what I've learned is this. We have a free will. And God gave us the ability, what trees cannot do, what fish cannot do, what a dog cannot do, what a cat cannot do. And that is choose what we are going to do. If I wanted to run out and kill myself today, guess what? I could. We're given a free will. And my husband chose to go be with the Lord. That's what I believe. I believe he knew the rehabilitation he was facing. I believe my husband, well, I know he was the best at everything he did. and he would not want to be handicapped, or although I was believing he had totally recovered. The doctors had told me it was possible, but it was a long road. And I think he heard all of that, and he did not want to. Hey, wouldn't you rather go be with God? That's what I think happened. I think, and he came by the house. We all slept under the same roof for one night, and he went home to be with the Lord. And that was just it. So I had to know, just like the one with issue of blood, do I really believe? Do I still really believe in God? Do I still really believe in helping children? What do I believe? You gotta, I can't even tell you how painful and introspective you become while you go through this kind of trial and tragedy. And I know many people watching today have gone through all kinds of tragedies. Maybe somebody's watching, you've lost 3 friends this week, but I will tell you to be grateful for the time that I've had. Absolutely. Going back to your original word for the day, which is a great word, being grateful. I had the most wonderful husband, the most wonderful mother-in-law I have had. Honestly, I hate to even tell you how good my life has been. My husband and I really never fought, ever. He had went through a first marriage, and I would always say he got kicked in the teeth the first time, and that got him tenderized real good for me, because he was happily married.
I used to say that everybody should have a first marriage that should just be like a trainer kit.
There you go. That kind of, we had 21 absolutely wonderful years, wonderful children. If anything, my only regret or only hesitation is, was I really grateful for what I had at the time? I don't know the answer to that question. The family meals around the table. Did I take it for granted? Was I really enjoying the moment? My mother-in-law would always say, all we have is today, because she'd went through all those years of recovery with LaVerne's addiction. And she said, all we have is today. We got to be thankful for today. Oh, yeah, I'm thankful. And now I don't know that I was.
Wow.
I don't know that it was.
Well, I have to ask you, you just got the book on Saturday.
Yes.
What did it feel to have to hold that book in your hand?
Honestly, it's like having a baby a little bit. Have you written a book?
No, but I'm hoping to someday. I hope there's one in my future.
The editing is, oh, you read it over and over. It is unreal. It is unreal. And even if you hire someone, because the publishing company has editors, right?
Yes, of course.
But nobody knows what you're trying to say but you.
That's
so
right.
They might fix some grammar, and it changed the meaning of the sentence, and then you have to, okay, we'll fix the grammar, but I'm trying to say this. So that's why you can't hire someone or someone else do it for you. You have to do it. So it is like having a baby a little bit. But I'm forever grateful, of course, for my mother-in-law, of course, my husband, and I hope it'll be a great tool for my daughter the rest of her life, as my mother-in-law wanted it to be. And my prayer is that it helps people. And a portion of the proceeds from every book will go to Love for Music City, because it is my desire to change foster care. People tell me I'm crazy, but more than ever, I'm determined to do it, and I believe we can do it. I believe it can be done.
I do too. And I believe that if anyone can do it, you can do it. And I want you to make a promise to me that if you have anything to promote or talk about, that you'll consider me on your podcast.
Are you kidding? I'm just thrilled to be here today. Can I give a quick shout out? Let me see. This Thursday, we'll be on all social platforms, loveformusiccity.org, with our 6th annual gala. We have Sir Earl Toon, as in Cool and the Gang, Celebrate Good Times, Come On. He's going to be here. The Queen of Bluegrass, Rhonda Vincent, is our Bill Anderson Icon recipient this year. We're very thrilled about having her. And then we will also, Love for Music City will be benefiting from a country music concert December 16th, and that is in Bardstown, Kentucky. So if any bluegrassers are out there, that's with Rhonda Vincent, J.D. Shelburne, and a host of other friends. So we have a few good things coming up. And I myself am believing for the rest of my year to be the best of my year. I encourage those of you watching here, it is the last day of October. But I'm believing these last 2 months. Believe me, I had a rough start. I'm not going to lie. I had a rough start in 2022.
Well, I don't want you to go anywhere for a moment. I'm going to say, number one, all this details I'm going to have on my page. I'm actually on Thursday morning. It's nothing too serious. I am just getting an implant put in, but I'm having oral surgery on Thursday morning. There's a reason why I'm not doing a show Thursday night, so that I can sit back and watch this.
Awesome.
So everybody tune in with me. We're going to do a giveaway right now. So everybody who is signed on with gratitude, Here we go. Thank you all for being here.
Oh, cool. I love
And this
that.
is how we do this. Thank you all for being here today. We'll see who our winner is. And it's Pam Stubbs. So
Oh,
Pam is wonderful. And what's the best way for Pam to get in touch with you to get a copy of the book?
what do you think? Inbox me, email me. Is this going out on all social platforms? You can probably,
Yes. So I'll just have her send you.
how about tag me on this show, because I'll go share it and just in the comment. I'm just concerned sometimes if you're not friends, you know how that is. You can't see.
Right.
So
Shanda, you'll send me an email and then I will connect the two of you.
okay, that'll be perfect.
That'd be
All
great.
right. Congratulations,
Don't go anywhere
Pam.
for a moment, because I'm going to say my closing remarks, and then I'm going to turn it over to you, and you've got the final word today. It could be about anything that we talked about today that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message that you want to leave everyone with today. So I'm going to give my final comments to begin with. And as I began today, I'm going to end the day by saying gratitude. We are ending a month. We're going into a new month.
Sure.
And of course, November is the month of gratitude. Thanksgiving. Every day in Thanksgiving, every morning, think about the things that you're grateful for. And every night, as you put your head on your pillow, count at least 5 to 6 things that you're grateful for every single day. And even if you repeat the same 6 things every day, it's okay. Just those things that you're grateful for, the people that you're grateful for, the people that have been part of your life, whether they've moved on or whatever. I always think of everyone. Rob, I know that you're here today with all of us. So, and thank you for the gifts that you've given to the world and that you will continue to give. These stories are amazing. I always end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return.
That's wonderful.
Today, what I'd like you all to do, if you can afford to do so, is go to your Facebook friends list, reach out to the second name that pops up, and reach out with a phone call, not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, but a phone call. If nothing else today, the messages are, tomorrow you may not have that chance to make that phone call. So make that phone call today. And then what I want you to do is go to your favorite bookseller and ask if they have She Was Healed. And if they don't, have them order it. And then get 2 copies. Keep one for yourself and send one to the second friend on your list, the one that you're going to call today.
Wow.
And then you're going to let them know what they mean to you in your inscription to them. You don't need Shanda's autograph, although Pam's going to get it. You can put your own autograph in it and let that person know what they mean to you. My dear friend Sean Moniger always says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. You never know what someone else is going through right now.
So true.
But I always say, if you're going to go out in a boat, make sure you bring a skipper along. So, Shanda, I'm going to leave. It's all yours. Make sure you send me that email, and so that I can put you and Pam in touch with each other. And it's all yours. And this has been a real treat. Thank you so much.
Well, Richard, it has been my treat to be here. Thank you for letting me share this big occasion for me with the book, but it has truly been a blessing. And it really been a great part of my day to be here. And I love that your word of the day was gratitude. I just want to briefly say I am on a mission to change foster care. LoveForMusicCity.org. We're out to help and change the lives of foster care children. But here's the thing. If you want to get involved, we are trying to give every child a voice. Every child a voice. And here's what I've learned. If you help someone else take Richard's advice, those things that he just said, you'll be the one who feels better. You'll be the one who, I call it antidepressant medication. Get out of yourself and help somebody else. I have been through the worst of circumstances this year. And if I had not have learned that a long time ago to keep helping somebody, keep doing something for somebody else, knowing is going to help me back. Not to give selfishly, but it will happen. Some call it karma. Some call it sowing and reaping. It is a universal law. It is true. So I encourage you today, help somebody, do something for somebody else. And I would love it if it were a foster child. Thank you so much, Richard, for having me on. Your heart is truly, truly precious, and it shines through this show. God bless you.